For more on the pandemic and how Americans are still responding and adapting to it, I'm joined by CBS News Director of Elections and Surveys, Anthony Salvanto, who has new numbers just out just this hour. Anthony, COVID restrictions have ended across the U.S., but numbers are spiking in other nations. There's concern it could spike again here in the States. Do Americans actually believe the pandemic is over?
No, they wouldn't call it over, Ed. Great to talk to you. Let me show you. You've got 70% who would describe it as still going. But the difference is where they think it goes from here. When we ask people, they think the next steps are going to be it'll remain, it'll be less dangerous, maybe with more variants, but less dangerous ones. That's what they think. And then you look at how they're behaving, because that's really the operative point here. And what you see is that many more people now are comfortable going out to restaurants, gathering with friends. You compare this to how things were, say, a year ago, and you get big increases in the numbers who say that they're comfortable doing those things. Now, look, in some respects, Ed, you don't need your pollster to tell you this. You can go out and look around. People are out there, see the economic data, but that's how they're behaving. It's not over, but they're more comfortable, and concern is at its low point, Ed.
Well, and it's encouraging to see people getting out and about again, or at least feeling comfortable to do so. But what lasting impacts are people feeling from this now years-long pandemic otherwise?
Yeah, you start to look at whether people think it divided the country as the country was going through this pandemic, the efforts to fight it. And there's over 2/3 who say the country came out of this more divided, which I think it speaks to a larger point. How do we as a nation face challenges that could affect all of us? And so we followed up with, okay, how did it divide if you think that it did? And we got a big range of answers. People said, well, first of all, between the vaccinated and the unvaccinated. And of course, you'll recall all throughout our polling, we saw a lot of animosity sometimes from the vaccinated saying that they felt like the unvaccinated were putting them at risk over mandates and health policies. On the opposite end, people who were opposed to those mandates, including large numbers of the unvaccinated. I should add, though, Ed, that these divisions, while real and intensely felt, were not 50-50. Most people reported getting vaccinated. Most people throughout did support the mandates, did support things like mask requirements all throughout. Ed?
I mean, and I look at these four numbers right here, all north of 7 and 10, believing that the vaxxed versus the unvaxxed, the mandates and the health policies, that there were partisan differences or ideological differences, and that all of this led to different levels of trust and information. I mean, that's it right there, that this just stirred up a hornet's nest of all sorts of intense disagreements that ultimately were political, but also, quite social and driven through medical concerns. And then, of course, the business we're in, journalism and information. It's quite fascinating.
Yeah.
There's also, you had a number in there about who exactly is to blame for slowing things down or for causing this. And I want to make sure you show this to people, because this one to me was quite fascinating too.
Sure. The first thing you want to go to is who made things better along the way as people look back. And we get big numbers who say medical folks, the doctors, the first responders. You want to give them credit across the board. For a lot of the vaccinated, especially the people who got vaccinated, they said helped contribute to maybe making things better and following those requirements, like I said. But when you look at the folks who are seen as maybe not helping, things that they said made things worse, especially, again, for the vaccinated, those who didn't get vaccinated, those came out as a top answer. Those who protested the mask requirements also came out as a high answer on having not helped things. And again, that speaks to that division. It speaks to the way in which people saw each other through this pandemic, and whether or not each of them felt like they had a collective responsibility, or in some cases feeling like they only had that each of us had a personal responsibility. And that lens through which people viewed it was often a big factor in how and the steps that they took it.
Real quick to the politics of all of this, do you get a sense that President Biden, who really a big cornerstone of his election campaign was the idea that he was going to be able to get the country out of this, is he getting any of the credit for driving down the numbers and getting the COVID case numbers to drop so much?
His ratings for this, which are slightly positive, but they have often tracked with caseloads. And one of the things we find interesting in the polling is how should people evaluate this? And it's often by those larger numbers. People, by and large, do think that vaccine mandates ended up saving lives. So that's perhaps one point in his favor. But then you look at whether specifically his policies are seen to have made things better or worse. And it's net positive on better over worse, but it's not overwhelming. And again, it goes to whether people think that cases are going up or down, because that's often the way in which they judge things. It'll be interesting as we watch these midterms go forward. If he goes out and Democrats go out and they argue, if we hope cases stay low, that these things helped. But again, there's always that trepidation because people see things might come back, and what do you do then?
Anthony Salvanto is CBS News Director of Elections and Surveys. You can check out the poll right now at cbsnews.com. If you're watching us on the app, minimize the window, scroll over to the homepage. It's all right there. Anthony, to you and your team, thank you for all that.
Thank you.